Their bike wheelied a little bit, but they didn't have that cutout, and that's what Bobby Nem's going to be looking for. And they have years. This team has years of coming here on Superbike, so they got a lot more practice at it. But the Ridge Racing guys are quick, and they'll get it dialed in as the weekend goes on.
Yeah, I mentioned Beaubier winning 2 of the 3 races here last year on the Tytler Cycle BMW, and you go back, Jake Gagne won the first race here, but he also won both of the races in 22. He won both of the races in 21. Cameron Beaubier, when he was with the Progressive Yamaha team, he won 3 races here in 2020. So it's not only that they have a ton of experience racing here, they have a ton of experience winning here as well. And
we talk about the Yamaha handling really well, and this track is all handling. There's not a lot of long straightaways. Loris Baz there putting in some consistent laps, but his teammate Josh Herron goes to the top with the 24-2.
It's a great lap for Josh Herron. Loris Baz currently sitting in 3rd. Still 26 minutes left in this qualifying session, and we've seen a couple races this season, Roger, that teams take different approaches in terms of strategy. Some of the teams go out early and try to put in a lap. Some of them work on the race pace early on. What was always your way to attack a qualifying session?
Well, it really depended on how my first session went, and if it went really well, then I'd go out and work on the race pace and early on, and then try to get that good lap in there toward the end of the session. If I was way off, then or struggling a little bit, I would need to get out there and just put some laps in and try to get up to speed before I make those changes. And that's what's important about having a good crew or a good coach or good whatever that you work with, so y'all can those plans. You have a plan going into the weekend, but unfortunately in racing, everything doesn't always go as the plan, and sometimes you got to go to, the backup plans. We see Cam Beaubier here in the pits. He's setting 6th in this session, so not as fast as he went yet this morning, but you just went through the results over there, how many races Cam has won here.
Go back to the racetrack. Loris Baz still out there putting in some laps and continuing to improve his lap time. Currently on the front row, the provisional front row in this first qualifying session, sitting in 3rd. But talk about the different strategies, and it seems to me that the Ducati riders went out with the goal of putting in a good time early.
Yeah, and Josh went out a little bit later, even at the ridge. He waited a couple minutes before he went back out. But for Loris right now, he's backing these low 24s up. We talk about it all the time. It's it's great to do that good lap, but you got to be able to back it up. And Loris's last 3 laps have all been in the mid 24s. So right now he's able to back up what he's able to put down.
You remember back a couple weeks ago, it was one of the things that Josh Herron actually said, Loris's teammate, was that we've got to do better in qualifying, because we're putting ourselves in a position where they have to push so hard early on in the races to try and make up ground, when it really all starts here in qualifying.
Yeah, and putting a good start, it can, putting yourself in that good spot early on, because the class is so competitive, it's hard to pass, and a guy could check out early on. We see SDK here setting 5th in this session. SDK was 6th this morning, and this is kind of the trend that we have seen. New bike, new rider team coming into the Superbike class. They just kind of slowly chip away at it. They kind of start with no notes coming into this race weekend. And I will say Laguna is really hard to get the bike set up electronically, because it wants to wheelie everywhere. It doesn't really look like it, but the front end is constantly trying to wheelie almost out of every single corner.
But also in the case of Sean Dillon Kelly, you talk about the new team and getting up to speed for him, also making the move up to Superbike. The last time he raced here was several years ago, and it was aboard a Supersport bike. So just getting comfortable himself. We've seen it throughout the season. That first practice session, it really takes him a few laps. By the time we get to Q2, though, he's always right there in the mix. This time around, it seems like he's been in the mix earlier.
Yeah, it seems like they figured it out a little bit earlier. You talked about last time he was here on a Supersport bike. You come here on a Superbike, things are going to come up a lot quicker. And there's places on the Supersport bike that you might have a little bit of a time to get a breather, but on Superbike, the corners come up so quick, hard braking into this last corner. The team has made a huge adjustment from that first session to only be less than a half a second off early on.
For Sean Dillon Kelly, one of the other things that he's just so smart at, we saw Maxi Gerardo that was out there in the Supersport session, and even though they're in different classes, Sean is always right there, and he's really taken this approach to racing in Superbike and getting all of the information that he can, getting all of the feedback, regardless of what the class is. He's always right there to learn and to soak it up before he goes out.
And that's the thing, just doing the little things, and that's what adds up. Sean is one of the riders. We see Jake Gagne there in the pits. I'm sure the crew's going to look at the computer, make a couple changes. He's talking to his crew chief there.
Helmet off, though.
Yeah, tire engineer as well. So they're going to be in for a minute.
For instance, when I'm like trimming those bars and I'm trying to get it back, like I feel the rear squat more, but then it's like it makes it harder to get.
Listening into this conversation with the help of these Audio Technica microphones, Roger, what is it he's talking about the squatting?
He was talking about the bike was squatting more, getting into the corner, and then it was kind of messing his exit. You can see his right hand. He's talking about, you know, the bike's just moving a little bit more on corner entry. And, you know, a lot of these corners here at Laguna, you don't think about it, but they have a lot of baking, a lot of camber, either up or down. So you're on the edge of the tire a lot. So when the bike's squatting, you have to think, you know, how many corners that actually is.
They continue through this little bit of a mid-session debrief right now. 21 minutes remaining in this 40-minute qualifying session for the Superbike category. Josh Herron, our provisional pole sitter right now, 124.2 for Josh. Bobby Fong put in that lap early on, a 124.3 for Bobby. So times are very close up at the front, but a lot of work still to do for several of the riders. JD Beach, you see currently being shown down in 8th place right now.
Yeah, but that JD has kind of struggled a little bit this year, and it's all confidence and finding the right setting and where the limit is. You see the bike moving around a little bit there. But he's less than a second right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, we talk about this class being so competitive. You know, you're less than a second off, and you're down there in 8th. You see JD looks like into the last corner. See, there's some bumps there, and it's a little bit bumpier than you would expect there with the cars, and you can see JD trying to get the power down there, bike moving around a little bit, but for JD, just trying to find that comfortability, and they've made some changes all year, but it just hasn't got that, just hasn't got it yet, and I know that him and his team are working, you know, all the time to try to figure it out, and they'll eventually get there.
And that great replay, that slow motion shot, you could really see how much even the exhaust was bouncing. You can really see how dramatic that is. But when you're going through it in real time, can you feel all of that?
A lot of times you don't, or you don't really notice it. Like a little bit there with the front end bouncing, he's gonna feel that. But there's a lot of times you'll hear people talk about, you know, you'll ask them about a moment or chatter somewhere, and they're like, no, I didn't realize that, or I didn't feel it. So a lot of things, when it's kind of like that, you don't really feel it as much. See JD getting in a little deep into turn 1. Turn 1 goes downhill, and it's really hard to get the Superbike slowed down into there with the engine braking, and it's pushing you in.
You can hear it squealing.
Yeah.
He looks over his shoulder, getting back up to speed. As you see now Ashton Yates, it's number 27, the Honda. Looks like he's looking for a gap also.
I think he's looking for either a gap, or he's seen Chavi Flores come by, so I think maybe he was going to try to duck in behind him.
Well, we saw Jake Gagne down on pit lane, but it sounds like his teammate Cameron Peterson has also come in and taken that helmet off. Joe?
Cam, you've come in for a bit of a pit stop, but it seems like you're relaxed. Can you tell us what's going on here?
Yeah, obviously just going through some stuff with the bike. We made some changes from the first session, so yeah, just went out, did a nice little stint. Bike feels really good, so just came into 1 or 2 changes, go back out there and see how it feels. But yeah, got a really good feeling so far early in the weekend, so looking forward to the races tomorrow, Sunday.
And coming off a race win at the Ridge, and obviously 7 points off the lead, which is not very much. Tell me about your mindset and your confidence this weekend.
Yeah, finally, you know, it's time to roll the sleeves up and get to work. I'm in a really good position championship-wise and riding-wise with the bike. I feel really good. So, you know, just trying to take it a day at a time, though, and just keep doing what we're doing. And, yeah, it's working out. So I think, you know, keep doing what I'm doing, should be in a good spot at the end of the year.
Great to see you smiling and enjoying. Best of luck.
Yeah, you've said he's in a good spot. He's had 3 wins this season, 7 podium results for Cameron Peterson. If it weren't for the DNFs, it'd be a very different storyline in terms of championship points.
Yeah, and he's talked about all year how great he's felt and the way he's riding, and just everything's finally coming together. Big injury last year, that, you know, everything's coming 100%, but you know, if you go back to the Ridge at second race, he said something interesting after race 2, arm pump. We know his teammate is struggling with that as well. So, you know, sometimes when you have it once, you can kind of get it in your head. But for Cam Peterson, he's riding so well, and it's great to see him having the, you know, getting those wins. And he's right, it's crunch time here at mid-season.
Go back to Ashton Yates. This number 27 Honda. He's been out there for a while. He's done 12 laps now since this session started. We heard Cam Peterson talk about the stint that he just put in. It was a 10-lap stint for both he and his teammate Jake Gagne. When you go out with the objective of putting in the laps, Roger, what is it that you're hoping to do?
Just to be able to consistently do those laps, and that's the most important thing, and do them each lap. Don't do one lap and take one off. You want to go out there, get as many laps in at the race pace. Obviously, there's going to be somebody's going to pull out in front of you or whatever, and there's going to be laps like that. But for the most part, just going out there, getting those consistent laps in, so you can know what the tire feels like when it starts to go off. And that's what a lot of riders want to do early on in this session. With 16 minutes left, you know, a lot of guys are going to come in and start trying to put that good lap in. And Ashton, solid weekend. He's only a couple seconds off the fastest Superbike time, and he's been riding really well, podium in stock 1000 races. He's made a really huge step the last couple weekends.
We talk a lot about it when riders are in stock 1000 and then they're able to come into the Superbike Cup and go out there with the Superbike riders, and he's certainly one of them that has been able to take advantage and just being able to learn every time he goes out. To go back to Cameron Beaubier, back out on the racetrack, up in the 6th place right now. We saw him on pit lane not long ago. It was that broken heel that Beaubier suffered back at MotoAmerica. Remember, he didn't race at the Ridge. He sat that weekend out, but came back. I'm sorry, he sat out at Brainerd, but came back at the Ridge and still going through the healing process. You see Danilo Lewis currently down. Looking for him on timing and scoring in 13th right now. Another one of the Superbike Cup riders.
And talking about the rain a lot, the great equalizer, Danilo 4th in that first race at the Ridge in the wet conditions. So that was such a great result for Danilo to get a top 5 in the Superbike class.
Making the right call on the tire selection. We saw a mix of tire choices. If you weren't watching with us at the Ridge, the rain came right at the wrong time, and several of the riders didn't know whether or not they should go out on a wet or they should go out on a slick, and the ones that went out on slicks made the wrong call, but the guys that were out there on the rain tires, they were able to make some great results. You see a lot of work happening down in the Ducati pit.
Yeah, looks like they're changing fork springs there. They're making a pretty big change. I can't tell. Looks like it's Loris's bike there. You see the wall, 76 there. And, you know, that's probably something they had an idea going into the session, and just throw something at it and see if it works. He's got a really good lap in right now. And, you know, that's what tough, you know, on race weekends to make those big changes. But the team's going to do it. They look at the data, and we'll see how it works out.
This is his teammate, Josh Herron. Happy with the setup that he has. Provisional pole sitter right now at 124.2. We go back and see how fast that is. That bodywork's already back on the bike.
Yeah, these crews, I mean, they're incredible. How, you know, it looks like they have so many things apart, and you look at it 10 seconds later and they already have it back together. And he's going to get out with a lot of time left, so it's going to have a good opportunity to see if those changes were, you know, making those big changes were better or worse.
It was a very quick change for him. Loris didn't even take the helmet off, knowing that he's going to get a different bike now to go out. 13 minutes remaining in this first qualifying session for Superbike. And for Loris, you mentioned it, has that time in currently on the provisional front row. So they're going to be able to take advantage of this and learn something, maybe even improve.
You talk about this team all year, about how well they get along, and the team being so strong. You know, you see some of Josh's mechanics down there helping them out to get them back out on track. You don't really see that too often.
go back to his teammate, Josh Herrin. The two of them, that camaraderie that you're talking about, they spent the 4th of July together. So Loris Baz stayed over here in the U.S. and was able to enjoy the festivities for Independence Day with Herrin and his family.
Josh Herrin a little bit quicker again, 24-1.
The lap record here in Superbike belongs to Josh Herrin. It was a 1:22.9 that he put in 2018, back when there was a Super Pole. See Loris Baz out of pit lane, getting up to speed on this lap. But Jake Gagne still sitting on pit lane, still doesn't have the helmet on. Are you surprised by that?
I'm a little surprised, but for also his, with the injuries he's having with his hand and his arm, I'm sure he's probably trying to manage the situation the best that he can, or maybe they made a big change. But I think for him, he's trying to manage and save the arm pump and the hand falling asleep a little bit.
See his teammate Cameron Peterson, we heard from him not long ago, talk about it's time to go to work now in the second half of this championship. He's already back out there with 11 minutes remaining in this qualifying session as Jake Gagne continues to wait for the bike to be ready and for him to get back out there. But you look at the left-hand side of the screen, there are a lot of bikes on pit lane right now. Josh Herrin just pulling in himself, so we're getting into that point in the session where teams will throw the new tires on and see what they can do in terms of pole.
Yeah, you can see they already got the new rear tire right there on the wall, so they can get to work as soon as possible, have things ready when Josh comes in, and they'll have him back out there really quick. There's still 10 minutes left for Josh. He'll sit down with his crew and try to talk about the changes and see if they're getting better. He's been in the pits a couple times and just always working. These guys just never stop working and never stop trying to improve. Even though Josh is at top of the board right now, he's just going to keep continuing working with those guys and try to get in the 23s, make that next step.
See Cameron Beaubier getting back on the bike a little gingerly with the broken heel. He said he feels like he's able to ride. He told himself going into the ridge that he was just going to go out into the practice session and see if he felt fit, and he certainly felt up to it. So back out this weekend again. You can see Xavi Flores on that number 34 from Vision William 4X Star Suzuki.
Struggling this weekend. And we had him on the pre-show this morning and was really, really confident into the weekend. Thought they made some really big setup changes at the ridge and was looking forward to it. Richie Escalante was strong here last year, so he was really looking forward to it. Had a lot of confidence this morning and just kind of struggling a little bit so far this weekend.
Yeah, Richie Escalante here last year finished 4th in all 3 of the Superbike races. So that team had a notebook that they were hoping to improve on, but they've made a lot of changes since Xavi's been around. And he said that the goal for himself was to get a podium. Well, he got that. The goal now is to try and get another podium for himself and for that team, but ultimately just to continue evolving that bike so that when Escalante does come back, it wasn't stagnant.
Yeah, and help the team. He said he wanted to, he's had a lot of experience as well, so that's great for that team to have a guy like Xavi jump on there and give them a lot of information and try to move them forward as a team.
Sean Dillon Kelly here on the number 40 BMW from Top Pro Motorsports is currently sitting 4th, a 1:24.5, the best time that he's put in. But I've been watching the last couple of laps, Roger. He just did a 1:24.5, so he's duplicating these lap times now.
Yeah, just consistently able to do it. And for Sean, it's kind of we've talked about it a lot, kind of just gets steadier, quicker as the weekend goes on. And right now, Sean's able to go out and do a nice run. This can be a huge confidence booster for Sean, able to keep going out there and doing those mid-24s.
See Josh Herrin on pit lane. We saw him come in. The team had the tire ready for him. I was looking at the bike to see if they were going to make any big changes like they did with his teammate Loris Baz. It doesn't look like they made all of the big adjustments that they made for Loris. As Josh now is ready to go back out there with just over 7.5 minutes left in this qualifying session.
He's trying to put it a good lap. New front tire there, new rear tire. So Josh is definitely going out there and trying to get a good lap. This is a qualifier, and where we're at Laguna, in the morning can be foggy, can be cool. So this could be, you know, the track could be where it's the best depending on the weather in the morning.
Continue to track the progress of Josh Herrin now that we know our provisional pole sitter is going back out there to try and better his own pole position time. You see Cameron Beaubier, he's gone personal best in the second and third sector on this lap.
You know, one thing with Cam Beaubier is, well, training. He's having trouble training when he tries to, you know, do some training. The leg swells up a little bit. So it's just, you know, not only the riding, but you don't think about it as he moves up to second in this first qualifier, but it's also the training leading up to the races that's been hindering Cam Beaubier as well.
You think just 3 race weekends ago, Beaubier was our championship point leader, and he was right there with, he had already been able to win 3 times this season, 4 podium finishes, and just missing 1 race weekend and then not having the weekend that he needed at the Ridge, already back out of the conversation.
Yeah, and just that you go into Road America, and even throughout that weekend before the crash, Cam Beaubier seemed like he had a step on the competitors, and you know, that's part of racing. Beaubier's on a good lap, too.
He's on a good lap right now. He's gone red in the first 2 sectors. You see back in the pit lane, Jake Gagne now has the helmet on. We can assume that the work they were doing is nearing its end, and with under 6 minutes left in this qualifying session, it's time for Jake Gagne to get back out. We go back to Cameron Beaubier, talk about that time. He's now gone red, which means the best of anybody in the first 3 sectors. You see that minus 2.9. That means that he is below the provisional pole time right now by almost 0.3 of a second.
Yeah, he only has 1 corner to go, and see Cam hard on the brakes. See how far down the front end is here on the gas early. You can hear the electronics working in, the bike's trying to wheelie, and it might be the first rider down into the 23s, and he is 23.9.
23.9 for Cameron Beaubier, moving himself right up into that provisional pole position. But we know that Josh Herrin has just left pit lane, and once he gets up to speed, he's going to have something to say about it. You see the graphic for Josh Herrin there on the bottom. He went red in the first sector, meaning he was better than Beaubier was, but he was yellow-orange in the second sector, and you can see right now that plus 0.1. That means that he is a 10th above the time of Cameron Beaubier. Yeah, so he's going to need to find more improvement.
He got in there deep, but he was able to make it up as well. You can see how close he is in this last sector. Cam Beaubier also, though, is on a really good lap again.
Being told now that Jake Gagne is leaving pit lane, so 4.5 minutes left. We can look to see the number 1 plate back out there and see what he has in terms of qualifying pace as we watch Josh Herrin. A 1:23.8 for Herrin, moving himself up to the provisional pole time, but Cameron Beaubier is still on a decent lap right now. He did not improve, though, in that second and third sector, and that's where you see that plus 0.09.
Yeah, and he's going to have to do a really good last sector here to be able to knock Josh off. He's going to be really close. Cam Peterson also on a really good lap.
A 1:23.8 for Cameron Beaubier, so he did improve his lap time, but it was not enough to be able to get around Josh Herrin for that provisional pole time. You see Josh Herrin is on another good lap, so it wasn't just one that he had. He's now even finding improvements. You see Cameron Peterson also out there going for pole.
We're going to see that third sector pop up right out of the corkscrew there and down into Rainy Curve, and for Cam Peterson able to spend some time in the pits. Look how close he is there. Another good sector for him. Not best, but consistently putting them together.
Personal best for Cam Peterson. So the changes that they were able to make when he was in pit lane, all of that's working out right now. He's continuing to improve each and every lap. As Cam Peterson goes his personal best of 1:24.1, putting himself on that provisional front row. Josh Herrin continuing to find some extra pace. 1:24 flat for Josh that last lap. So he did, what was it, 2 laps over 1:23.8 and then a 1:24.0. So he's right there in that sweet spot.
Yeah, consistent. Also, Beaubier was able to back those laps up. We'll see Cam Pearson. Bobby Fong, we haven't seen him out since early on camera. Hasn't did a better lap yet, so we'll see if he is able to put something on as the session is winding down. JD Beach has moved up to 7th.
good for JD to be able to move up a bit and find some extra pace. Brandon Posh just put in a great lap, getting himself around JD Beach. Continue to watch Josh Herron. Is that Bobby Fong right behind Josh?
Yeah, that was Bobby. I don't know if he just pulled out or what, but it looks like Josh was slowing down. We see Cam Peterson here.
Kelly, you can see that graphic on the bottom of the screen. He's on a lap where he's finding some improvements right now, as is Brandon Posh on another good one. But I love the way that Cameron put that in that interview with Joe. It's just time to get to work.
And that's the time right now. I mean, it's going to be everybody's going to be throwing everything at it. And, you know, Cam Peterson knows that right now nobody's going to give you an inch, and every point is going to add up. We see Sean here coming out of the last corner a little bit off. See if he can't get down into the low 24s.
24-1 for Sean Dillon Kelly. You called it.
Great lap. Also, Brandon Posh, huge steps during this session right now.
For Brandon Posh, so not finding any improvements there on that lap. It was some 0.6 slower than his best lap time, but he's able to consistently put in some times, and he's right up there in the mix.
Yeah, he's right in the mix, and we'll see just a lot of improvement from the beginning of the session. See SDK here still on another good lap. He's still going to try to get a good lap. See Jake Gagne as well. You see the splits right there. He's on a good lap also.
Sean Dillon Kelly just lost a bit there in that third sector. He was within 300ths of that pole time, but there in that third sector, he went up to 2/10.
Yeah, he just lost a little bit. And, you know, tonight he'll be able to look at the notes and the splits, and he'll be able to see that and try to go into tomorrow and see if he can figure that sector out. First sector, he looks good. He's right there. But another good lap, though, for Sean there. 24-1. Cam Beaubier there. So he's right there consistently doing the same laps. Jake Gagne there in the last lap moves himself up into fourth.
Another 124-1 for Jake Gagne after sitting on pit lane for quite some time, but the last couple of races we have seen that he hasn't taken advantage of all of the track times. You see him there shake his wrist out.
You know, Jake's got the speed. There's no doubt about it. That's not the problem. The hand falling asleep is what's hurting him.
Now that the checkered flag has flown for this qualifying session, take a look at this from this morning. This is an instant 360 camera aboard Brandon Posh.
Yeah, and look, you know, we talked about it early in the session how the Superbike guys are hardly ever straight up and down at this track. And as you watch this lap, just kind of watch how you never see him straight up and down, even out through here, your left, down into the right. These are the headed where he is now into turn 3, is one of the flattest corners here. You get to stand the bike up a little bit there, but as soon as you get straight up and down, you're down into turn 4 already, and this looks like a straightaway on paper, but you can see he's leaned over, and as soon as he gets to pick it up, it's back on the left. This corner has a ton of camber. It's so much fun. You can get in there deep. Just a really fun track, and I like these 360s so you can really get a good look of, you know, what the rider, their body position, and, you know, how much they're really working. And, you know, you talk about them never straight up and down and always on the edge of the tire. When you watch this lap here, you can really see it, that they are always left or toward the right.
Yeah, with these camera shots, just you can really see how physical road racing is.
Yeah, and here, especially on a Superbike, I mean, there's no place to rest for these guys as he goes into turn 10, another camber. Just a really cool lap.
Take a look at the results from this first qualifying session for Superbikes. Josh Herron leading the way. Cameron Beaubier, though, right there at the end.
Yeah, Cam Beaubier, really good lap for him there toward the end. Was just a little bit off. Sean Dillon Kelly, great session for him. Jake Gagne able to put in a good lap. Cam Peterson there 5th. Bobby Fong, the championship leader, down in 6th. Loris Baz in 7th. But look how close they are, all within a half a second. And then we got a gap to Brandon Posh 8th, JD Beach 9th. Xavi Flores struggling a little bit this weekend. They're going to have a little work to do overnight.
Certainly some room for improvement there, but we do have another qualifying session that will happen tomorrow morning for all of the different categories, and we do combine qualifying sessions here in terms of the 2 sessions to be able to set the grid. See all the fans that are out here this weekend. It really is just a beautiful racetrack and a great venue. Take a look at some of the highlights here, starting off with our provisional 3rd place starter, Sean Dillon Kelly.
Yeah, what a great session for Sean all the way from the beginning, able to put in a lot of good laps, even whenever they put the tire on toward the end to try to get a really good lap. Sean was able to go out there and back those laps up and do more than just one fast lap.
Great qualifying session for him, and another great one for Cameron Beaubier also.
We knew Cam coming into this weekend, it was going to be tough. His track record proved it here at this track. Only question for Cam Beaubier, won a couple races here last year on this bike, is how's the heel going to perform over race distance?
But it was all about Josh Herrin in terms of pace. And for Josh Herrin, he reset his own pole time several times during this qualifying session. A 1:23.8 ended up as the provisional pole time. Let's go ahead and hear from Josh with Joe.
I do indeed have our provisional pole sitter, Josh Herrin, with us. Well, Josh, you won the very last race at Ridge. What does it mean to you to follow that up with provisional pole today?
Yeah, it's good. I know, it's just provisional pole, so nothing to celebrate about yet. But I'd be really excited if we can start on the front row here. That's important to me. Everybody's going fast, but I feel like, I don't know, maybe confidence from the last couple rounds is really playing in my favor right now. I feel like I'm just I'm out of breath because I'm excited. That last lap I was holding my breath a lot, but I feel like everything's just kind of clicking today. And I know we were 3rd this morning, but like I said, it was just clicking. I feel good. I feel comfortable. I'm not pushing the limits anywhere. I know the bike's moving around a lot, but I feel in control. The guys are working really hard. Weather's amazing. We're just having fun, man. This is what this whole year has been about, and just trying to keep that going. So thank you to my entire team, and yeah, let's get it tomorrow.
Okay, and Cam Beaubier also took the lead as well for you towards the end of that race. So much competition. How different does this championship feel this time around?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Huh? I don't know the last time that there was 4 guys separated by 9 points with 3 rounds to go. So MotoAmerica is doing a good job at making this series enjoyable. The riders are all pushing the limits. And yeah, I'm just excited about it. There's a lot of buzz, and I'm happy to be in the fight for the front. And just hoping to get Ducati their first championship in almost as long as I've been alive in Superbike. So it's a big deal to me, and yeah, I'm just having fun, like I said. So thank you to everybody for the support, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Having fun, but coming out in first place for the moment at least. Congratulations. See you in Q2.
Thank you.
For Josh Herrin, knowing that championship is certainly still within reach, and though all of the work is still being put in to be able to get there, a provisional pole sitter, as we have another qualifying session tomorrow morning for Superbike. We're going to step away for a quick break, but when we come back, it is time for Stock 1000 qualifying. Don't go anywhere.